Welcome along. Another week of Find My Voice on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. If you are listening on the podcast, hit that subscribe button as we talk to people who have found their voice to inspire you to find your voice. And this week's topic is financial advisors can create content. And we have Ryan Melton, who is a financial advisor. And what do you know? He is a content creator. Ryan, welcome along.
Thank you, John. It was a great intro. I love the music. I started dancing, but no one saw it.
Exactly. Three things about you that perhaps the audience doesn't know, Ryan Melton.
Three things the audience doesn't know. I traveled to 17 countries, and one of them was Israel, and Donald Trump decided to move the embassy from Israel to Jerusalem and vocalize that. And I was there during when there was an organization, a terrorist organization, that was going to threaten to open the gates of hell onto that place. And I decided, all right, I'll go there, see what happens. And there was no lines at anything, and it was a great time. So that's one.
Good one.
Another thing, my dream of mine was to be a paramedic traveling around like a expedition. So I was a kayak guide, and I love whitewater rafting, and yeah, but then I got fat and then decided office work was the way, and it's now a financial planner. And what's another thing? Saved the baby from drowning when I was a toddler. Yeah, and scene.
Nice. People have thank you. I look. You need to say a little bit more about the baby saving thing. Come on.
Well, apparently what had happened, I've been relayed to me, was there was a baby that fell into a rock pool. And people were a little bit far away, and they're running over, and maybe I was trying to look at a starfish and it was in the way, but I picked it out of the water and got all the kudos.
Just like that. Did they give you $1 million, or that started your financial planning career?
Yeah, they helped recommend some investment recommendations. Now I'm a billionaire at 30, so it's gone well.
And all you do now is create pieces of content a day so you can help people and rescue them in their financial strife, right?
Yeah, well, it stemmed from a frustration doing my own studies and like just useless jargon that's frustrating, annoying, and everyone should know this. So that's really what started, apart from the baby incident.
Got it. Well, aside from me being on your podcast, it's kind of reciprocity is a thing, and we had to have you on my show. The thing that stands out for me in terms of you're a financial planner, and we had a conversation late last year where you said I asked you how many pieces of content did you create a day, and what is your answer?
Yeah, it was 10 a day, probably about 70 a week. So it varied, not every day, but 70 over the week.
So talk me through that. What was the motivation for you to go, okay, I'm going to create 10 pieces of content a day and put them out on various channels? Why did you want to do that in the first place?
Well, it stems from a lot of my competitors are middle-aged men that aren't very tech savvy. So what that came from is I like the old saying that it's better to compete with a great white in the desert than in the ocean. So historically, how a lot of financial planners would generate businesses, connections with intermediaries, accountants, lawyers, and frequent a whole lot of networking events. Mm-hmm. I don't particularly like networking, and I don't really pretending to like someone so they give me stuff. So I thought I was all right at social media. So if I just put in more work than anyone else in a focused area, then I'm going to come out on top. So far it's starting to pay dividends, and I suspect there's potential to catch in the market if I can sustain it.
Got it. So where did you start? Because you've also written a book as well, haven't you?
Yeah, I did write a book. Well, where it started really is just long form content. So Gary Vee's a good model to I guess measure your business against. Is you want to make sure if you're going to produce content, it's scalable and time efficient, because as business owners, you're always short on time. So it's about documenting your journey as opposed to stopping and creating a video specially for the content. So what you would do is you have a podcast as your pillar content, and you invite people on that you suspect will increase your audience, add value to the audience, as well as build a connection that could lead to more business. So it's not wasted time. And then from that, you repackage it and redistribute it to different parts of social media in a way that makes sense to that platform. And then it all funnels to a call to action, which is either a free appointment or it's a newsletter. And then you just got this reoccurring audience base that I guess protects you from the changes in social media landscape, because there's going to be every social media platform will have its day and you're going to have to start paying. So you want to make sure that you hold the leverage and you protect yourself against it by having their details, their mobile, their email, and that you also have the ability and the structure to, if TikTok is the new thing or Facebook is the new thing, that you can pivot to that. Got it.
Do you have help doing all this?
No. Well, one person helps with the audio on the podcast. So nzaudioeditors.com, shout out. I do it every time on the podcast. Ooh. So I got it. I believe he's going to help you with your endeavor as well. It's going to be a mutual.
I think the young man will be doing a little bit of work with some of my clients in terms of podcast, getting them up and running. But yes, it's always good to have people who are in the know when across audio or video. And so, did you start with? You obviously started with that pillar content being, like the Gary Vee thing. He talks about doing a 90-minute keynote and then you cutting up that piece. Did you have particular channels that you had to invest into?
Yeah, so the main focus for me, so our marketing budget was $80 a month because my business associate didn't believe in marketing, and rightly so. Like no financial planner has really done this in a significant way, and it's worked. Because the challenge is you got to build a relationship with someone that's going to invest their life savings. How do you build trust in such a short platform? So magazines, print didn't do it. So with that, I focused on the areas that had the highest return with the least amount of cost. And those were the ones where you get a lot of shade for, which was TikTok. And then LinkedIn is another, has a great organic reach. So they're social media platforms at the early stages. So then what that means is they have a limited amount of content. So you get more exposure, but then the market becomes saturated. So you have to pay to get exposed. So I focused on the free ones. Another one was Meetup. It was a good way to have events and bring people along without any cost. So I just really focused on those areas. So how can I get massive amount of exposure in a targeted way at the least amount of costs? And the only thing we paid for was Sales Navigator, which was really just an excuse to get someone's phone number and call them and have them as a guest and build your audience through comments, targeted commenting. So then the only cost is sweat equity and putting in time, which I'm comfortable with doing. And I know I could do more consistently than most financial planners.
And I guess the question on everybody's lips is it working?
It is. It took a while, admittedly. It took a while. So I first started the podcast 2 years ago, and I had no idea how to video edit, and then you're trying to do, the normal things that you do. So eventually, I never asked for business. There was nothing in the podcast. There's nothing in the socials. It was all just give. And then eventually, actually, funnily enough, through John's recommendation, I should have more ask. So now there's an ask in the podcast and people reach out to us. And also TikTok. So TikTok and podcast are the two biggest revenue generators for us. And when you get one client, the lifetime value of a client, I mean $20,000, like it's not a joke. So for an $80 a month budget and just putting in my time, it pays out.
Got it. So you said you created the podcast 2 years ago. I guess a lot of people, when they're thinking if they're starting to create whatever content they're going to create, is, they kind of give up, right? It's like, well, this isn't working. People are not liking my stuff. How long did it take you from that day one before you kind of started to seeing some engagement through some of the channels that you were putting the cut downs out at?
Well, I made a mistake with LinkedIn initially. So that took a long time because what I had is an automated messaging service. So I was building connections with people I had no connection with and wasn't interested in the content. So I had a really low engagement rate and I had to turn that around. So that took a long time. TikTok was almost immediate because I was focusing on an area where you have exposure. So 1 million views over a period of 6 months. But the problem was it wasn't really driving to anything. Like I didn't have a good website structure so I could collect details, or I wasn't asking for anything throughout that. it adds to the benefit. I think a lot of business owners make the mistake of trying to sell too soon because, well, as you're talking, reciprocation is one of the most powerful things. So if you can add value to a point and then ask at the right time, it's like you wouldn't go up to someone on a first date and immediately look them in the eyes and say, all right, you're coming home with me. But that's how most business owners approach their content.
Yeah, I was shooting a client this morning in a video form with my new videographer, and it's kind of that default to people go, okay, well, I'm doing a video, so I must sell, or I must have a strong direction of, you should come and work with me. It's like, no. It's kind of like it's a slow process or a slow burn. You've got to give, and then you get to ask. And then people, but I think it's, and then we go back to our conversation. It's really important to obviously have that ask somewhere in there, because we're not doing this just for the love of. Well, I enjoy talking to you and talking to guests, but yeah, we're in business. So, what was some of your biggest hurdles?
Well, I mean, time, like. Financial planning, like I have 4 full-time jobs effectively, paraplanner, account manager, and then obviously you got to talk to prospects, and each prospect's like 9 hours together before they become a client. Like finding the time to create this and being consistent at it. So what I actually say is it's not so much about thinking how it's going to benefit the audience. It's about creating what you enjoy and then tailoring it depending on what how the people respond, because quality is subjective. A lot of these large institutional groups sit in their like incubation in their little boardroom and decide what quality is, and it just flops. And the only way you can know is a combination of putting out a lot, getting that feedback, but putting out things you enjoy, because it could take a while before people start coming back to you.
Got it. And looking back, is there anything you would do differently?
Yeah, I just sort of doubled down on the 80-20, really. I was doing a lot of different things like automated webinars. I would have thrown away the automated messaging and built real connections. And I would have just focused on the comment section. Like I don't have the luxury of time now. Before I had more time. But like if I just had a targeted messaging campaign from a commenting standpoint, so you use Sales Navigator, you find out who your ideal audience is. For me, maybe it's accountants, because if I befriend the fishermen, they may provide the fish that I need instead of me out there hunting all the time. So so I would have just doubled down on the 80-20. So LinkedIn, podcast, TikTok. And then I also would have used real interactions with people instead of automation, probably.
Got it. That's great advice. In terms of TikTok, a lot of people kind of, people who might be a little bit old and grey might be thinking, what is with this TikTok? I mean, Gary Vee said, TikTok is the next LinkedIn or whatever it is, or it's the next Snapchat. How effective has it been for you? And I know that you've there's lots of views, but is behind those vanity metrics, is there actually engagement?
Yeah, like the pushback you get when you say, I use TikTok, they're like, well, it's only for young people. And there's some truth to that, but I don't know how many there are now, but maybe 1 billion users. So you're going to think, okay, there's that many people on the platform. My ideal client's going to be there. The point of difference is what I put on the hook. How do I attract that clientele? And for us, like TikTok, 80% of the revenue from my online presence has come from that.
Wow.
So the rest has just been the podcast, but like, and then I'm not doing anything. It's like, it still shocks me. It's like, okay, I made this 1 minute video and someone made the choice to trust me and reach out just from that. But I just got an automated booking system based on when I'm free in my diary, and it syncs all the time. And then I just got a call, and all I do is make a video. Takes an hour to do 3, do that every day. And then I just get calls. And then, no cost.
No cost. A content created, no cost. I love that. And in terms of your guests, how have you obviously said that they could be ideal clients, but they're going to provide value to your audience. How have they received it? And were they easy to find?
Yeah, so how my focus with podcast guests initially was to find people with a big audience and also that had interesting ideas and were authentic, because I don't want to talk to you. And so that helped build the podcast up, and 90% of people say yes. And that's the thing about it is, like, if I say, for example, I was trying to target accountants, if I call up an accountant, I'm basically asking for something from the get-go, or I'm being manipulative with my intent. So like I'm pretending like I don't want something, building a relationship, and then asking. Whereas if I call now, I'm giving value to them. So the biggest thing is a lot of people like see the benefit of social media but don't know what to put in the pipe. So one, you're providing them the ego trip of saying, hey, you're sitting down there, we're talking to you, we're interested, because I find people fascinating. And then the other thing that you have is obviously the content that they can use themselves. So that was one of the things I would do, is edit the content into marketable chunks. They get exposure, 28,000 views a week, and then they get to use it themselves. So it's just the dynamic's completely different, where you've got a relationship of giving, and at some point you may ask, but they see you as a good person as a result of that.
Yeah, and
within
just
reason.
well, look, you said authentic people with a big audience. I'm not sure if I've got a big audience, but
you do, mate. High engagement, 70 likes.
Oh, thank you,
Killing
Ryan.
it, mate.
Thank you, Ryan. Can you share a story, perhaps, of when you stuffed up? Is there a story that you can recall? I'm sure there are many. One that is safe for people's listening ears, but something that either when you were recording, can you remember a time that you kind of stuffed up, just to demonstrate that we all stuff up and it's okay?
Nah, flawless. I think. I mean, tech, man, it does your head in. Like, you want to have something there to protect against that, because you invite someone on there that's like a substantial figure in New Zealand, and then there's no recording. It just didn't work. Something didn't work out with that. Like, that's so common. Or the other thing is, never get political. I would find on video. Like, I try to compare the marketing campaigns of Biden and Trump, just for fun, and it just blew up. And I was like, okay, delete. So you always got to be mindful of, like, at some point 10 years from now, someone's going to look at it. But I make mistakes all the time, frequently. I just actually leave them in because
it's authentic.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. I think I saw a video from Jason Gunn where, the master talking. It's like people stammer and people stutter, and that's what we do. So it's just authentic. Just have it be you. What is the one secret? I'm going to drill you on one thing. One secret to being a successful creator, even if you're a financial planner or a financial advisor.
Just, it's no secret. It's the same thing with life. Like, everything in life, we know what we should do. And it's just doing that. It's just consistency. So it's like every day, no matter what happens, you produce a certain amount of content on the platform that makes the most sense. So that's the secret. It's discipline and consistency on a platform with the highest yield. So right now, that's TikTok and LinkedIn. Just spam it every day.
Do people? I guess if there's people that are watching that don't like you, then I guess they're not going to watch it. But ultimately, you're trying to attract your ideal client, aren't you?
Yeah, like if people, the best thing about a personal brand is it's a qualifier. I don't have to spend time working out if this person gets along with me or get along with them. I've already filtered it out. So there's going to be people that get frustrated, don't like you because you're authentic. But the reality is you're actually getting clients that are already filtered. And especially as a financial planner, it's not a transactional relationship. It's long-term. So I need someone to at least think I'm okay, or trustworthy or something,
Good. Love it. 3 tips that you would give other content creators who are sitting on the fence, who perhaps haven't ever created something. What 3 tips what 3 value pieces would you give to a non-creator?
Well, start small, start now. What's the minimum? What's the thing with the least amount of resistance that will take you furthest towards the direction you want to go? So it's basically starting small in the direction you want to go and just putting it out there, because it's going to suck or it might go well. But the only thing you know for certain is you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. The other thing is document. You're busy. You're a business owner. So it's going to take time for you to build up an audience on podcasts. It's going to take time for you to get a return on investment for your marketing. So spend time using the podcast to connect with people that can provide value to your business. So I would say, like, find out whoever your intermediary is, whoever hangs around with your clients, and interview them, and just do it once every day, 5 days a week. And then you'll get direct benefit from that person. And then you'll have content. So I've got 100 hours of content now, and you can pass that off to a video editor that does it for you cheap, or you could bring an in-house editor. And what's the third tip? Just people aren't going to like you no matter what. The most beautiful person in the world is ugly to, a huge amount of people out there. It's subjective. So all I can say is just own whoever you are, put it out there, and people will be cruel, but always understand why they're cruel, because for you to be cruel, for a person to torture, they must torture themselves first.
Was that a quote out of the Bible?
It was Carl Jung. He was a pioneer. So he said, actually, those who torture are tortured.
Got it. Ryan Melton, thank you for joining us on Find My Voice. If people were interested in being a guest on your podcast, or they want to connect with you, how is best for them to do that?
Whatever their favorite platform is, just send me a message. I'm on there. Just look for the name Ryan Melton, and judge my content. Tell me what's wrong with it. And and just really, it's about, I want authenticity in an audience. So if you want to be on the podcast, ideally you have an established audience, and you're also authentic. You're not too polished, and you got to be able to demonstrate that. So just ask. You don't know.